Roman Reigns attacks CM Punk after Raw off-air. WWE Raw March 3, 2026. WWE just pulled the most brutal and disgusting attack in recent memory, and the fact that it happened off-air where most fans couldn't see it makes it even more sinister. Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose just hospitalized CM Punk in a vicious post-show assault that went too far, crossed every line, and has people questioning whether WWE has completely lost control of what's acceptable on their programming. This wasn't a worked shoot. This wasn't an edgy angle. This was graphic violence that left Punk bleeding, broken, and stretchered out of the arena, and if you're not outraged by what WWE allowed to happen, you're not paying attention to the message they just sent. Comment immediately: did Roman and Ambrose go too far, or is this exactly the kind of edge that wrestling needs? Because what happened after Raw went off the air has ignited a firestorm that WWE can't contain. Let me give you the full story of what actually happened, because WWE has been trying to suppress the footage, which tells you everything you need to know about how bad this was. Raw ended with CM Punk cutting a promo in the ring about demanding a rematch with Roman Reigns for the WWE Championship. Standard stuff. Punk was passionate, the crowd was behind him, he laid out his case for why he deserved another shot. The show went off air. Cameras stopped rolling for the live broadcast. The arena lights came up. Fans started heading to the exits. And that's when hell broke loose. Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose hit the ring from both sides simultaneously. Punk didn't see them coming. He was talking to a referee, his back turned to the entrance. Roman grabbed him from behind in a chokehold. Ambrose hit him with a forearm that dropped Punk instantly. And then, with 10,000 fans still in the arena watching and filming on their phones, they destroyed CM Punk in the most vicious beating WWE has allowed in years. This wasn't a typical beatdown. This wasn't punches and kicks that look good for TV. This was real violence designed to injure. Ambrose hit Punk with the paradigm shift on the exposed concrete floor, not the ring, not the padded mats, the concrete. Roman followed with a spear through the barricade that collapsed the entire structure. Punk was unconscious. His face was bleeding from multiple cuts. And they weren't done. Dean grabbed a chair. Roman held Punk in position. And Ambrose delivered 5 consecutive chair shots: head, back, ribs, legs, head again. The sound of steel on flesh echoed through the arena. Fans were screaming, some in shock, some in horror, some actually cheering because they thought this was part of a dark segment. Security finally rushed the ring. Medical staff tried to intervene. Roman and Dean backed off, but not before Roman grabbed a microphone and said words that have since gone viral. "You wanted a rematch, Punk? You wanted to prove you belong in the ring with me? I just proved you don't belong in a ring at all. This is my show. This is my championship. And you? You're just another name I ended." Punk was stretchered out. EMTs were calling for a legitimate ambulance, not the worked kind they use for angles, a real ambulance, because Punk was legitimately injured. Reports now say Punk suffered a concussion, 3 cracked ribs, and needed 12 stitches to close the head wound from the chair shots. He's out indefinitely. And WWE allowed this to happen off-air where they have less accountability. Here's why people are absolutely furious and calling for WWE to face consequences. First, this happened in front of 10,000 fans, including children, who witnessed graphic violence that would never be allowed on television. Parents are outraged. Multiple families have complained to WWE and to the arena that they brought their kids to see wrestling and instead witnessed what looked like an actual assault. Second, WWE deliberately did this off-air so they could avoid FCC regulations and TV standards. On air, there are limits to violence, blood, and intensity because of broadcast standards. But off-air? Anything goes. WWE exploited that loophole to deliver violence they knew wouldn't be acceptable on television, which is cowardly and manipulative. They wanted the shock value and the viral social media clips without the responsibility of broadcasting it themselves. Third, and this is what has wrestlers backstage absolutely livid, Punk was legitimately injured in this attack. The concussion is real. The cracked ribs are real. The stitches are real. WWE crossed the line from stiff work to actual harm. There are wrestlers in the back questioning whether this was a shoot, whether Roman and Dean were given permission to actually hurt Punk, or whether this was a work that went too far and resulted in unintended injuries. Let's talk about the footage, because it's everywhere now despite WWE's attempts to control it. Hundreds of fans filmed the attack on their phones. The videos are all over Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. You can see everything: the chair shots, the blood, Punk's body going limp, the panic on medical staff's faces. WWE can't suppress it. They can't DMCA claim every video fast enough. The damage is done, and now WWE has to deal with the fallout. Some fans are calling this the most intense and real angle WWE has done in years. They're praising it as a return to the Attitude Era where anything could happen and violence wasn't sanitized. They're saying this is what Roman needed to be truly villainous, not just a guy who wins matches, but someone who hurts people and crosses moral lines. This crowd loves the edge and wants more. But another segment of fans, and this includes parents, casual viewers, and people concerned about wrestlers' safety, are calling this irresponsible and dangerous. They're saying WWE is promoting violence that goes beyond entertainment into actual assault. They're worried about the precedent this sets. If Roman can hospitalize Punk off-air, what stops other wrestlers from doing similar attacks? Where's the line? Here's what makes this especially controversial. CM Punk has a history of injuries and health issues. Everyone knows about his staph infection from his WWE run, his various surgeries, his time away from wrestling to heal. For WWE to book an angle where Punk gets legitimately injured again, whether intentionally or accidentally, feels reckless and shows a fundamental disregard for performer safety. Punk came back to WWE in good faith. He trusted WWE to protect him, and they failed. The legal implications are serious and people aren't talking about this enough. If Punk's injuries are as severe as reported, and if he can prove WWE was negligent in allowing this attack to go too far, there could be a lawsuit. Punk could argue that WWE failed to provide a safe working environment, that they encouraged excessive violence, that they prioritized shock value over performer safety. That's not a storyline, that's a legitimate legal problem. Roman Reigns' character is now at a crossroads. Before this attack, Roman was a heel, but he was still somewhat honorable in his own twisted way. He beat people in matches. He bent rules but didn't completely break them. This attack changes everything. Roman just crossed into villain territory, not wrestling heel, but legitimate bad guy who hurts people outside of sanctioned competition. That's a character you can't easily walk back from. Dean Ambrose's involvement is equally problematic because Dean was positioned as Roman's ally, someone helping his brother, fighting alongside him. But participating in a brutal off-air assault that hospitalizes someone? That makes Dean just as complicit, just as villainous. If WWE wanted to keep any sympathy for the Roman-Dean partnership, this attack destroyed it. They're now monsters, and there's no going back. Let's address what this means for the WWE Championship picture because it's now completely uncertain. Punk is injured and out indefinitely. He can't challenge for the title. WWE has to pivot to a different challenger for Roman. But who? And does that challenger have any momentum after WWE just spent months building Roman vs Punk? This attack solved nothing storytelling-wise, it just created more problems. The smart booking would be to have someone new step up and challenge Roman, someone the audience can rally behind as Punk's avenger. That person becomes a babyface by proxy. They're fighting Roman not just for the championship, but to get justice for what Roman did to Punk. Cody Rhodes could fill that role. Drew McIntyre if he returns. Seth Rollins taking a stand against his former brother. Any of those work, but WWE has to act fast before the momentum dies. Here's the uncomfortable question nobody wants to ask: was this attack a shoot disguised as a work? Did Roman and Dean actually hurt CM Punk intentionally, using the "it's just an angle" excuse as cover? I'm not saying that's definitely what happened, but the injuries are real, the violence was excessive, and WWE's attempts to suppress footage suggests they know this went too far. The wrestling business has a long history of workers settling real grudges under the guise of storylines. Backstage reaction has been mixed according to reports. Some veterans are praising the intensity and saying wrestling needs to be more dangerous and unpredictable. Others are furious that WWE allowed this to happen and are worried about setting a precedent where off-air violence becomes normalized. There's apparently been at least one meeting between talent and management about boundaries and what's acceptable going forward. WWE's official statement has been pathetic. They released a generic "CM Punk was injured during an altercation and is receiving medical treatment" announcement without taking any responsibility or addressing the excessive nature of the attack. No apology to fans who witnessed it. No acknowledgement that this crossed lines. Just corporate PR nonsense designed to minimize liability. What should WWE do now to fix this situation? First, they need to address this on air immediately. Have Triple H or another authority figure come out, condemn the attack, announce that Roman and Dean are being fined and suspended. Create consequences that show WWE doesn't condone this level of violence even from their top stars. That restores some sense of order and morality to the product. Second, give CM Punk the spotlight when he returns. Have him come back fired up, ready for revenge, positioned as the sympathetic hero who was brutally attacked and is fighting back. The crowd will be 100% behind him. That's money you can't buy. Genuine fan investment in seeing Punk get justice. Third, use this to build the biggest match possible. Roman vs Punk at SummerSlam or Survivor Series, with everything on the line, not just the championship, but pride, revenge, and settling who's truly better. Make it a stipulation match where the violence is sanctioned and controlled so nobody gets legitimately hurt. Give fans the payoff they're now desperate to see. But here's what WWE will probably do instead: they'll downplay the attack, move on to the next storyline, and hope people forget about it. They'll bring Punk back in a few months with minimal fanfare and book a match with Roman where the attack is barely referenced. That's WWE's pattern: big moments with no follow-through. And it's infuriating. The moral question at the center of this controversy: does wrestling need this level of violence to be compelling? Or has WWE gone too far in trying to create viral moments? I genuinely don't know the answer. Part of me understands that wrestling is combat and sometimes it needs to feel dangerous and real, but another part of me thinks there are limits, and hospitalizing someone off-air crosses those limits. What I need from you, and this is critical, tell me in the comments if you think Roman and Dean went too far with this attack, or if this is the kind of intensity wrestling has been missing. Tell me if WWE should face consequences for allowing this violence, or if you're excited about where this storyline goes. And tell me honestly, do you think Punk's injuries are a work or a shoot? Like this video if you're angry at WWE for letting this attack happen. Share it if you think there need to be boundaries even in wrestling. Subscribe if you want me tracking every development: Punk's recovery, Roman and Dean's next moves, and whether WWE learns anything from this controversy. Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose just crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. CM Punk is hospitalized. Fans are divided between shock and outrage, and WWE is scrambling to control a narrative that got completely out of hand. This attack will define how we remember this era of WWE, either as the moment wrestling got its edge back, or as the moment WWE proved they'll sacrifice anything, including performer safety, for viral moments. The aftermath of this attack will tell us everything we need to know about what WWE values: storytelling and safety, or shock value and social media clips. And right now, it's not looking good.